We always love when Jack Brewer comes to join us here on I'm Right because, well, he was a New York Giant, and that's the nicest thing I can possibly say about anybody. We're not going to mention that little stint he had with the Eagles. Joining me now is Jack Brewer. He was a Trump appointee, and I want you to pay attention here. The Jack Brewer Foundation, jackbrewerfoundation.org. They do some incredible, God bless things for people who need them. So if you're interested in it, get involved in it. Jack, young people are pretty much everything because they, on top of just being awesome, they decide what your country's going to look like. And I got to work this morning and I had this email from a viewer of the show, and tell me this one doesn't hit you. Quote, I go to Arizona State University. I'm a political science major. In my classes, we have discussions. Today's someone in my class was saying that Mao was a great leader and he wished Joe Biden would learn a thing or two from Mao. I pointed out that Mao was a murderous dictator who killed more people than Hitler multiple times. He never once acknowledged me. He was unwavered. You're right when you say that communism is a religion. Jack, how are we failing young people so bad that there's a single person in this country who thinks Mao was a good guy?
It's terrible. It starts so early on now, with the education system. And, these kids are going to these public schools that are indoctrinating them with just a false reality. Just the example that you just gave to not know basic history like that. Right now, these kids are just being pushed through school. Unfortunately, their parents are stuck on their cell phones, and everyone's stuck into this new media world, and really not paying attention to kids, not giving kids that wholesome foundation. And it goes back to civics, man. If you don't love the country in which you live, if you're not taught that, if you should be demanded upon you to love the nation in which you live and where folks are fighting for your freedom. And those things are just not communicated to our kids these days. This is very sad. And I work in public schools. I actually have an ongoing youth program that I've been running for several years. And so when I talk to these kids, I see it firsthand. And it's really sad and unfortunate to see how social media, rap music, these crazy movies and video games, all this stuff is raising our kids now. So you're right. Their reality is so tainted. They think a leader like Mao is a good guy. It's so unfortunate.
Jack, I wanted to ask you about that specifically because I agree with you 100%. I tell people all the time, it sounds hacky and cliche, but really it just comes down to the fact we have a patriotism problem. Half the country hates the freaking place. They just do. But when I was a kid, I didn't grow up in the 50s. I saw plenty of rap music videos. I had Snoop Dogg and Eminem playing on my stereo sometimes. I watched movies. I played video games on occasion. Granted, it was Super Tecmo Bowl and whatnot. But I did these things. Did those things change? Or did the parents change? Or did the education change? Because something changed.
Something really did change. And that's called fatherhood. And it's called fatherlessness, which is that has shaken our nation. It's a crisis that is biblical. The Bible says, he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to the fathers. And that's when you are in the trying times. And that's what we're in right now when you have 77% of black babies born with no father in the home. You have almost 50% of Hispanics, almost every race, including whites, have a huge issue with fatherlessness. And fatherlessness doesn't just mean a father not being there. Sometimes you can have a dad in the home, but he's really not a dad. Fathers have to start being fathers again, bringing the rod back out. I'm all for paddling in schools. I'm all for keeping kids accountable. Kids are not held accountable anymore. So, when we grew up, we could listen to Tupac Shakur. I could jam DJ Screw and all these other rappers. I could listen to them because I knew if I got out of line and did what I was rapping, my dad would have hit me upside my head. And so many kids are missing that authority figure right now, whether it's their coach, whether it's their mentor, but you need a physical presence in your life, and that's biblical.
Jack, why are the dads not there? And I say this like this. I know I'm a horrible human being. I've never pretended to be otherwise. I'm a bad person. but I still have 2 sons, and I love them. I want to be around them all the time. The second I take this earpiece out of my ear, I'm going to hang out with my sons. I can't imagine not wanting to hang out with your sons, not wanting to show basic stuff with your sons. And I'm a bad person. So how are there that many fathers out there who look at a son or a daughter and say, I'm too busy. I don't understand it. Explain it to me.
It's a cycle, man. I'll tell you, I know particularly in the Black community, it started, in the late 70s, 80s, early 90s. The crack epidemic completely dismantled homes. You think about it, 3 million African-American men in prison, right? Coming after, the Biden crime bill and all those horrific things. Those things start cycles. And then, government programs that have incentivized women to not need men in the houses. So you have a whole culture that has looked at it as acceptable for the government to replace their God, and all these debilitating welfare programs and such. These things have left a huge hole in America, and we've gotten to the point now where we have depressed masculinity, and we promoted feminism so hard that culturally, women think they don't need a man, and that's cool. I mean, that's acceptable, and you're actually praised for that idiotic thinking. And so these things have really came in and tainted our culture. And we have a real issue with morality right now in America that no one wants to talk about. This is not a political issue. This is a moral issue.
Jack Brewer, please come back anytime. Please, by the way, before we go, I don't ever do this. Please plug your foundation because I love what you do. It's so important.
Thank you, brother. It's thejackbrewerfoundation.org. Guys, come join us. We're opening up an institute called the Serving Institute. We're going to teach and empower these young kids to learn how to serve again and give God his glory. But thank you for having me on the show as usual, brother.
Appreciate you, Jack. Go Giants.
Go Giants.
He's right. Tell me where he's wrong. Man, we need to get behind that guy. All right.